Ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again. Good evening to all of you. In international news, a surprise phone call has just taken place between American President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Yes, the call took place. President Donald Trump, who had declared that he was ending his friendly relations with Vladimir Putin, this man, is known for changing his mind at any moment, as once again changed his position. Given the pace of the preparations announced for what Russia is about to do in Ukraine and even in some NATO countries, this is on one hand what motivated President Donald Trump to call Vladimir Putin on the phone without it being planned and without it even being the subject of any official communication. You know, the last time they communicated, they spent at least a week talking about it. And when that happens, the bigwigs of the West, of Europe, get involved and then start attacking Donald Trump. Donald Trump eventually realized that the bigwigs of the West do not want peace, that Europe does not want peace. So, as we were saying, Donald Trump always wants his name to go down in history when it comes to peace. So, he mustered up his courage. He called President Vladimir Putin. The latter answered the call. They spoke for an hour and 15 minutes, more than an hour and 15 minutes. And after their conversation, he made a statement on his social network. And the Kremlin as well, through Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin's spokesperson, confirmed that the call took place and that the content Donald Trump shared is accurate. He even said that his counterpart, his colleague, would hold a telephone press briefing about the surprise phone conversation between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. But in reality, the news is not good at all for NATO or for Europe. Not at all. Donald Trump himself confirmed it. So it must be said that Donald Trump is seeking peace. Even the Iranian issue, they discussed it during the second part of their conversation. The first part mainly concerned the attack that Ukraine NATO carried out. Well, they attributed it to Ukraine attack that Ukraine carried out on the Russian side. It should be noted that the investigation launched by the Russian investigative committee that was set up has confirmed that indeed it was Ukraine that carried out the attack, but Ukraine notably used foreign drones. We'll come back to that. The news is bad. Even Donald Trump himself, he doesn't know what to say. So, we're going to dig deeper with the official information. But I'm asking you to share this video conference as much as possible. Yes. We need to start getting 500,000 views on YouTube here. That's it. On Facebook, we need to start reaching 1 million views. Exactly. Share as much as you can. I have the courage to bring you the latest, freshest, and well-analyzed information. That's it. And above all, give lots of likes. Lots of likes. And don't forget the most important thing, the comments. Ouch. But if you have nothing to say, just leave a comment. Hi, Samouraï. For those who have trouble writing Samouraï, just put, hi, Mr. Théa, or hi, Théa. That works. Let's dive deeper. The American President Donald Trump declared on June 4, 2025, that he had a phone conversation lasting over an hour with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. This exchange was confirmed by the Kremlin, during which the two heads of state notably discussed the recent drone attack carried out by Kiev against Russian air bases on the very eve of the talks. So, according to Donald Trump, who posted on his social network, Trust Social, he said it was an enriching conversation, but it will not lead to immediate peace. He said it was a conversation, an enriching conversation, but it will not lead to immediate peace, meaning that the option of peace is no longer on Vladimir Putin's mind. No, Putin is no longer thinking about peace. Even if peace does come to Ukraine, it will be later, much later. You know, Putin is straightforward. And the statements made by Trump, which we will look at next, further confirm what the Institute we mentioned earlier said. For those who haven't seen the video conference, Go back and watch one of our video conferences from June 4th. We discussed the report produced by the Institute for the Study of War, which confirmed that Russia is currently preparing, but specifically against NATO, Ukraine and NATO. This even justified the presence of Sergei, Sergei Shoigu on the side of how should we put it. On the side of Pyongyang, on June 4th, what does Donald Trump say? Let's move on to the part that discourages Donald Trump, what Putin told him on the phone. You know, when Putin is ready for peace, he says it clearly, I am ready for peace. If he's not ready, he says, I am not ready. So, he says, this will not lead to immediate peace. So, in his message, the President Donald Trump reported that they spoke for about an hour and a quarter. So, he says, there you have it. So, the exchange is confirmed by the Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, who also said, he says, my colleague Ushakov will hold a telephone press briefing in the near future. So, still, according to Donald Trump, President Putin stated and emphatically, that's Donald Trump speaking. Please share. 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 He says, President Putin stated and emphatically that he should respond to the recent attack on the airfields. Yes. That is to say, is the very way of announcing, of describing what Putin said, that is frightening. He says, President Putin stated and emphatically, meaning they're on the phone, but he feels that Putin is speaking forcefully. Yes, that he should respond, that he is going to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. That means this won't be child's play. Even Donald Trump couldn't convince Putin on this matter. No, never. So, and President Donald Trump was left speechless. Yes, he doesn't know what to say. So, he was so scared that he said, beyond this attack carried out by Kiev, there were talks, and they also discussed the Iranian issue, because Trump is afraid. NATO is afraid. The assertiveness with which Trump arrived, during which he said he would intervene militarily in Iran, he started to backtrack. Because Trump knows that if he does it, one of Iran's most important natural allies is Russia. If he does it, he will have started a war with Russia. Russia will take action. There you have it. And Putin told him that he would intervene between Iran and the United States to allow Iran to make a decision as quickly as possible and then to find a swift solution. Yes, that is to say, Putin wants to help him regarding Ukraine, and he also wants to help Putin regarding Iran. I'm telling you, the situation is serious. Ladies and gentlemen, here is what must first be said regarding this phone conversation. Thank you for sharing the video conference as widely as possible. I will be back with you shortly by the grace of the Almighty with more news. This was the voice of your one and only samurai,